What's up guys, Lone Wolf here. Today we're going to be going over the updated for 10.0.5, the 2400 solo shuffle guide for the Melee Wings Paladin. In this video, you'll learn about all the tips and tricks to help you wield those brand new wings to get that sweet juicy rating you deserve. You're going to have to duck, you're going to have to dodge, you're going to have to steed in and hodge, and we'll get to that in great detail. Firstly, I just wanted to say thank you to all my new subscribers, both on Twitch and YouTube. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who liked and commented on my last video. Usually when I post a video, I get 6 views, and I was genuinely shocked when I saw I got 6,000 views, so thank you so much for that. Lastly, for my subscribers, please let me know what kind of content you expect from me in the future. Just leave a comment down below, and I will definitely take a look at those comments. With all that aside, let's get straight into the guide. I wanted to start this off by saying that the build did not change at all from the previous patch, which is good news. You don't have to mess around with any of the talent points. If you do need a crash course on what these abilities do, I go into full detail on that in my previous guide. So if you need that information, feel free to check that out. I'm going to leave a copy of this build and a link to that guide in the description down below. I wanted to answer RS Nate's question, so it's okay to still play pretty far back as a Melee Wings Paladin, and the answer to that question is no, simply because they nerfed Aura of Reckoning. We only get Reckoning half as often as we used to, so we can't rely on that to sit at a 40-yard range and safely heal our team with Judgment procs. We're gonna have to get up close and personal, boys. It's gonna get a little spicy at times, but we're here for it, and what we're gonna do is use our CC and our damage to create pressure on the enemy team, and depending on how badly the enemy team reacts to that pressure, it will create win conditions for our team. So that's a long story short on that. I'll get into more detail on that later on in the video. Let's talk about what's actually changed in our class. So the new controversial wings, right guys? I just wanted to say if you lost rating because of the new wings, you shouldn't feel bad. I actually lost 400 rating at one point. I'm super happy I got that back, by the way. But the problem I kept running into was I never had enough holy power to use my wings when I needed them the most. And it cost me so many games and it was so frustrating. But after you get used to these new wings, they feel a lot better than the old ones. Yes, I agree, the new wings, they do feel clunky when you first get started and they do feel unreliable. But for example, it took me about 300 rounds just to get used to these things. So I'm going to explain to you why the new wings are better than the old ones. Right off the bat, what is the new wings? It's going to be a 5 holy power starter. It's going to be a 45-second cooldown with a 12-second duration versus the old 25k mana starter. 2-minute cooldown, 20-second duration. We're going to have more uptime on our new wings. It's going to be a little bit of uptime, not like a whole lot, but it's definitely better to have wings every 45 seconds for 12 seconds versus every 2 minutes for 20 seconds. And it's also nice in regular 3s that it doesn't cost mana, because 25k mana is so much. It's actually ridiculous almost if you think about it, how much mana it costs just to pop our old wings. So having that mana efficiency on the side is very nice. Secondly, it's really nice to have that damage pressure on a 45-second cooldown with Avenging Crusader. So let's say you're playing Shadow Priest Rogue Holy Paladin, the gates drop, your rogue gets a sap, you pop Avenging Crusader on his kidney, so you're doing damage with the rogue. Let's say he blinds, you guys get a trinket and a wall. That's great. The second go comes around, Avenging Crusader's on a 20-second cooldown. You're not quite there yet, but Hodge is also on a 20-second cooldown because we take short Hodge, so maybe we get something small in the second go. On the third go, you're ready to go again. You have Avenging Crusader up, you have Hodge, you're ready to win this game. So let's say on the kidney, it's safe to cross over now because there's one less DPS to interfere with you. So on his third kidney, you get a Hodge, you pop Avenging Crusader, you throw Judgment, you throw Hammer, you Holy Shock the guy, you blind out because your rogue used earlier, and you just won the game, all based on a consistent lower cooldown and more access to damage consistently, which is great. I think Peekaboo Brush is up on this. He said consistency in WoW is the key, because if you take cheesy gimmicky talents like Cheat Death as a rogue, and you rely more on luck and silly little gimmicks, you won't make it as far as someone who has a consistent talent build that does maybe more damage and healing, and they rely more on their skill. So having that consistent access to your damage and being able to help your team in goes is really nice on the new wings compared to the old ones. I'm not waiting around 2 minutes to do this again, man. I'm going every 45 seconds, so I'm just saying. You could wait around if you want, but I'm picking up these new 45-second wings. Let's remedy one of the biggest problems people have with the new wings, and that's not having enough holy power when you need it to be able to use your wings on demand. So I lost tons of games simply because I didn't have enough holy power and I needed my wings and I would just die. So I lost game after game after game, and I took a step back and I thought, what is the actual problem and why am I losing all these games over this new change to the wings, and it came down to me not keeping track of valuable information. Information in WoW is key. So I look at this game in a circle and I gather information in WoW in a circle. And what I mean by that is the way my UI is set up, it lets me make decisions based on what I see. So I have my arena frames over here. I can keep track of casts, DRs, and trinkets. I have enemy defensives and offensives over here. I have the kick bar, so that's the first half of the circle. I have my target focus and my set focus here. And then I have my party right here. So traditionally I look at WoW in a circle. So I see what's going on. People are casting Paladin, so I need to react, I need a line, I need to heal my team, I need to do damage to this guy right here. So one thing I noticed after stepping back was I didn't keep track of Crusader, Avenging Crusader enough. And I would always glance down because I have my defensives on the right and my offensives on the left. And I don't have that internal cooldown for the new wings yet. And every time I glanced down, it was off cooldown, ready to be used. And I had like 3 or 4 holy power, and it was just terrible. So I started saying, hey, I need to keep better track of Avenging Crusader. And if I can't do that conveniently, I'm hindering myself. So I put an action bar up here above my target focus, and I put Avenging Crusader and Judgment here just because it's good to have good Judgment uptime. And it actually helped me a lot managing the cooldown of Avenging Crusader and preparing the 5 holy power needed to use that ability. So that is a big change I recommend to anybody that needs to, that's losing games because they don't have enough holy power. I promise it's simply because you're not keeping track of Avenging Crusader as well as you could be, and you're not being as mindful of Avenging Crusader's cooldown and preparing for that as you could be. I want to show you how you can make this action bar / cooldown tracker up here. You're going to go to options, you're going to go to action bars, you're going to click action bar 6, and then you're going to go into edit mode. Usually the action bar will be in the middle of your screen, so you'll just move it to wherever is convenient that you notice you look at your screen a lot. Just put that there so you can track Avenging Crusader a little bit better. I also recommend Judgment too, but you'll click on the bar and make sure always show buttons is unchecked. That way you don't have this annoying, these annoying boxes around your screen getting in the way. So that's just a quick little how-to on how to put this action bar up here to track Avenging Crusader just a little bit better. In this next part of the video, I'm going to get you guys used to using Holy Power as a way to activate your wings, and it takes about 7 seconds to go from 0 to 5 Holy Power. Let me show you an example of this. We have Beacon on ourselves. We're going to start with Bestow Faith, Holy Shock, double Flash of Light into Beacon. Bestow's going to pop, giving us Holy Power, and then we're going to throw another Holy Shock into us, and boom, we're ready to throw those wings. We're ready to go. Took about 7 seconds. So around the 10-second mark, on the cooldown of Avenging Crusader, I will prepare myself to build up Holy Power. That way I can throw my wings on a whim's notice and not have to worry about not having enough Holy Power. The lowest you can go if you want to use your wings the moment they come off cooldown is 7 seconds. Do not forget that. Just give yourself a little bit of leeway when you're starting out. Maybe start at that 10-second mark, and if you start getting a little bit better, you could cut it down to 9, 8, but 7 is the lowest you could possibly go. This is not the most efficient way to go about getting your wings in the first go, but it is the most beginner friendly. So if you're struggling getting your wings out on the first go, I have a simple solution for you. You have to press one button before you press wings, and that's Divine Toll. So let's say the teams meet in the middle, you Divine Toll, and you're ready to go. So you cast your wings, you throw Judgment, you hammer to extend wings, you put Bestow Faith on a cooldown, you Holy Shock, you give out 2 Crusaders, you Wog, you're looking at Judgment cooldown, so you see, oh, I can Judge, I can use Hammer, you can see Holy Shock here, you could dump double Wog and then put Bestow on a cooldown. So you're not going to get another Judgment here. You could back off, and now you could look at the cooldown. You say, oh, I have a 25-second cooldown on wings, so now I just need to heal normally. So what we're going to do is we're just going to heal normally. Let's say we go through this little rotation. We're keeping Bestow on a cooldown. We're putting Shock on a cooldown. I'm still healing. I see that wings is coming on a 10-second cooldown, and let's say I don't have Holy Power. Now I need to build up. It's at 7 seconds. I have to build up. So we're going to go 1, Bestow, Shock. Bestow's going to pop, and I have wings. I should have wings, yeah. Ready to go again. So that 7-second mark is super important, and as long as you're getting used to managing the cooldown of Crusader because you moved it into a spot in your UI where you could see it more often, and you're getting your wings off the first go with Divine Toll, you're going to be in a good spot to start getting better using the new wings. Let me show you how I avoid using Divine Toll in the opener and what I think is the most efficient way to get your wings, your first set of wings anyways. So I'll pre-beacon my team. You can see the Ironforge guard here is pre-beaconed. The gates will drop. I will Bestow Faith, Holy Shock. I will Blessing of Summer, the highest DPS target. Since I got Infusion, I'll do a Holy Light and a Holy Shock, and I'm good to go. My wings are ready. If I didn't get Infusion, I would do 2 Flash of Lights and Holy Shock instead, and I would still be ready to go. So let's say the game starts, and my warrior CCs this guy. So I'm going to create pressure by activating my wings, doing damage. He's in a CC, so I don't have to feel threatened to take damage from this guy. And it also gives me an opportunity to look for a CC and create pressure with my Hodge. So since this guy's CC'd, I can safely cross over. Let's say I get a Hodge on this healer. He trinkets, I blind out. Now the game's really on because I'm doing damage. I got a trinket. Maybe this guy walled, he's sweating a little bit. And since my wings fell off, I'm gonna peel back so I'm not as exposed. And I'm gonna heal traditionally at a safe 40-yard range. So we're gonna wait for our Avenging Crusader cooldown to go to 10 seconds. I'm gonna get 0 holy power. Let's say the game's going on. I see that it's at 10 seconds. Now I have to build holy power to get ready for the next go. So I just heal into my beacons. I holy shock, I bestow faith. We're good to go right as wings comes off cooldown. We're gonna go do some damage. We're gonna do some big healing. We're gonna look for another CC. Maybe it's a Hodge, but that would be like a rinse and repeat easy version of what we do in the arena. And then since we have the cooldown of Avenging Crusader in a more convenient spot for us to track, we could reliably, consistently have 5 holy power to activate Avenging Crusader when it comes off cooldown. So that's just the gist of that. It's more important now than ever to keep track of Avenging Crusader's cooldown. So just do yourself a favor and put this cooldown in a spot where you look often. I know a lot of people like to put their UI all in the top left. I prefer the circle method myself, but just put that in a spot convenient for you where you check often. Make it a personal goal to check the cooldown of Avenging Crusader every single time your wings ends, and this cooldown will vary. So for instance, sometimes it's 27 seconds, sometimes procs will extend the duration of your wings, so it's a 10-second cooldown by the time your wings ends, and you're already in a situation again where you need to build holy power up, so you could use wings when it comes off cooldown in 10 seconds. Let's say during those 10 seconds, I notice that I have holy power, I have 5 holy power available to me. I will not use any holy power, instead I'll just holy shock and flash of light heal for 10 seconds. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I dump my holy power and I can't press my wings the moment they come off cooldown if I need them. Since we've already discussed that's how we lose a lot of our games, getting used to these new wings anyways. So it's okay to hold on to holy power in that 10-second window so you could have the convenience of pressing wings at a moment's notice. This is going to wrap up the new wings part of the video. So if I miss anything or there's any questions you have about the new wings, please ask those questions in the comments down below, and I promise I will answer those questions as soon as I can. Let's talk about the Reckoning nerfs really quick. So right off the bat, you get Reckoning half as often as you used to. So it used to activate at 50 stacks, and now it activates at 100. It used to be a 100% increase in damage on your next judgment. Now it's a 25% increase in damage. So you're doing less damage, which means you're doing less healing. Yes, you could feel the nerfs, and it killed a playstyle I really enjoyed. So I used to sit in the back at a 40-yard range, farm 50 stacks of Reckoning, and throw a judgment and just full heal my team safely. Now I often find myself getting involved in the CC chain, creating pressure and using my damage and my CC to help my team win the game. Yes, I think Reckoning needed a nerf. Did they hit us too hard? I think they nerfed Reckoning a little too much. If they found a happy medium in between both of the playstyles, so maybe instead of 100 stacks, they made it 65 stacks to activate Reckoning, and instead of 25% damage, they buffed it up to 50% damage on your next judgment. I think that'd be a fair place to put Reckoning, right in between both of those, the new and old playstyle. Yes, we take this talent every single game, but that's just my opinion on the new Reckoning. Tower of Radiance got a small change, so now if the target is below 50% health and they do not have Beacon on them, you can still generate a charge of Holy Power by casting Flash of Light or Holy Light into that target. So I'm below 50% health, I don't have Beacon on me, I'm casting Flash, I'm generating Holy Power, which is really nice. This gives us more efficiency in healing lower health targets, so now we don't have to waste a global swapping Beacon over to them to generate Holy Power. More globals and more efficient healing is obviously welcome to the Paladin kit in my opinion, so this is a great change. I want to talk about the Blessing of Summer rotation since I didn't in my last guide, and Blessing of Winter just got changed. So right as the gates drop, I will bestow Faith Holy Shock, and then I will just Blessing of Summer, the highest DPS target, just so I could get value out of this and put it on a cooldown. As Blessing of Summer goes through its various changes, as Summer comes back up, I will continue to put that on the highest DPS target, just to get the most value out of it. Blessing of Autumn is really cool, and it has a nice synergy with your melee wings because your abilities cool down 30% faster. So when your wings are up, I like to use this ability You get more Judgments, more Hammer of Wraths, you get more Crusader Strikes, you get more Word of Glories, you get more Holy Shocks. So all in all, you're extending the duration of your wings because your abilities are cooling down faster, you're getting more damage, and you're getting more healing. I always put Blessing of Autumn on me, and it feels really, really good when your wings are up. So yeah, I love Blessing of Autumn. They changed Blessing of Winter. It used to be an attack speed reducer, a movement speed slower, and it gave your ally a small amount of damage. So now it gives you 15% of your base mana, and I'm gonna say in solo shuffle, it's pretty much useless. I haven't lost a game because I haven't had mana in about 300 rounds. In threes, I think it's a really nice change though, because the games are longer and it's really nice to have that 15% mana every now and then during the rotation. Saves you a drink here and there. So it's a win for threes, it's a lose for solo shuffle. Going back to solo shuffle, if I'm gonna win a round and I see Blessing of Winter is not on cooldown, or yeah, it's not on cooldown, I will actually press this button just so it goes on cooldown and I get to the next blessing faster. If the gates are not dropped and Blessing of Winter is not on cooldown, I will just press it before the gates even drop just so I could get one step closer to getting my next blessing. So that's my take on Blessing of Winter. Blessing of Spring is just a healing steroid, and I always put this on myself, so I do more healing and I receive more healing. So if I'm healing other people, I have an increase in my healing. You really do notice this, by the way. And also, if I heal myself, I initially do more healing and receive more healing. So you just heal yourself, especially very efficiently, and you heal your teammates pretty well as well. But yeah, I always just put Blessing of Spring on myself. It's a healing steroid, and that's that. Our wall, Divine Protection, got a 10% damage reduction buff, so it was 20%, now it's 30%. It's just enough of a buff that sometimes it does save my Divine Shield, so it's a really nice, welcome change to the wall, and since we're up close and personal a lot more, I think it's more suiting. Other quick changes I just wanted to glance over. Holy Shock got a 15% buff, Holy Light got a 35% buff, Flash of Light got a 15% buff, Tears Deliverance healing increased by 25%, Avenging Crusader can now trigger and consume Divine Purpose, so if you get a proc of Divine Purpose, you could use that to consume your wings, and once you do consume your wings, that can pop Divine Purpose, which is really nice. This is going to be the playstyle section of the guide. Since melee wings did change and Reckoning did get nerfed, our playstyle did get altered as a result of that. I'm going to give you guys in general tips and tricks and general advice, because I can't go over every single class combination you will face in the arena, and I can't go over every single situation that may arise in the arena. If you have specific questions, however, about certain classes or certain matchups, feel free to ask those questions in the comments down below, and I will try my very best to answer those questions and give you the best advice that I can. At the end of the day, guys, we're still playing Holy Paladin, the best class in the game, obviously, but we need to be mindful of our weaknesses. So what are those weaknesses? The first weakness is we're very susceptible to sitting long CC chains. So let's say you push in for a Hodge when you shouldn't have and you get polyed, and then that turns into a poly, and then that turns into a poly, and then that turns into a kidney, and that turns into you getting blinded out. So now you either have to trinket the chain high or bubble, and you just blundered a trinket or a bubble at that point, trying to get a Hodge you should not have been going for. Which leads me to my second weakness, is we're very susceptible to swaps without trinket or bubble. So let's say you're fighting Arms Warrior, Fire Mage, Wrestler, Druid, and you see Avatar and Combustion are coming off cooldown, and you see the Mage goes for a poly on your off DPS, your Paladin senses should be tingling at this point. You should be like, I don't have my trinket and bubble, and this guy just got polyed, so they're gonna try to swap me with Combustion and Avatar, so this guy can't peel for me, I'm gonna die. So you need to constantly be thinking of the potential of you getting swapped on. In solo shuffle, people, they often don't peel for the healer, and they have an idea of how they're gonna win the game, which doesn't include protecting their healer, so it is a little more frustrating. That's why you need to rise to the occasion and protect yourself from your two weaknesses, sitting CC chains and getting swapped on. So we know that we need to use our CC and damage to create pressure to win games, but if we're susceptible to CC chains, how can you safely get a CC to create that pressure? So let's say this is a mage and this is a warrior, and you're healing two warriors, the gates drop and the warriors charge in and they stun this guy. This opens a door for you, because now there's one less person that has a potential of CCing you. So I like to cross over when one person's out of commission. I could cross over and get a cross CC, or I could go for that Hodge on the healer. So this guy's stunned, I steed in. Now I just need to worry about this mage polying me. What do I have in my kit to protect me from poly? I could sack a warrior and just go straight for the Hodge, or I also have Rebuke available to me, so I can go for a kick on this mage that's casting poly. I could kick poly and then safely cross over and get that Hodge and blind on this druid. So there's an example of how you could use your kit and your teammates to help you achieve that goal of cross CC and CCing the healer. I wanted to talk about the interaction between AoEs and CCs. So let's say there's a Frost Mage on the team. If you stand in his Frozen Orb, it makes it impossible for him to poly you. So let's say he polys you while you're standing in the Frozen Orb. It will break you out immediately because you're taking damage. That damage will break the CC and put you on the DR. I'm going to show you an example of how I use this to my advantage in this clip. So in this example, I pop my wings and I run into the orb. That way when he does poly me, it breaks. I'm also going to run into the Blizzard and the Blade Storm. That way if he does poly me, that will also break. And if he does for me, that will also have a potential to break. So I've put myself on the DR. My wings are up. We're creating immense pressure. You need to use AoEs to protect yourself from any of the CCs that may be presented to you in the arena. And I'm keeping true to my word here by standing in as many Frozen Orbs as I can while my wings is up, while our pressure is at a max. On that same coin of talking about CC and casters, there's going to come a time where you're going to have to push back against these casters and let them know they can't just do whatever they want to you. So let's say you're healing double warrior and there's an enemy DK here and there's this lock. And you were healing your team on this pillar, but this lock repositioned and now he's in between you and your team and he's pressuring you by threatening fear. So let's say your warrior does a spear go and you want to be a part of that go, but you cannot hit the kill target. You could still be a part of the go by pressuring this lock and locking him out of the game. So let's say they do the spear go, you pop your wings on this guy, you're doing big damage at this lock, and you're healing your team from afar and you're protecting yourself because he goes to fear you and you kick him. Let's say you're still doing damage to this guy, and as he comes out of the kick, you hodge him. You switch your damage to this DK, you start doing damage, and as he comes out of the hodge, maybe you reposition yourself into a spot where he can't get you anymore with any future CCs. So this playstyle is super fun and it's super rewarding, and I've been called obnoxious and annoying from multiple casters, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really fun. And you're also going back to the core values of protecting yourself from those CCs, and you're avoiding swaps because you locked this lock out of the game. I'll show you an example of this in this clip right now. In this example, the mage just popped Icy Veins and the warlock just dropped his Infernal. My warrior is also doing a spear avatar go, so I want to help my warrior with the go, but if I go for a CC on this priest, I risk getting feared by this warlock, so I choose to pressure the warlock instead. Let's see how this plays out. I rush in with my wings, I stand in the Frozen Orb to avoid poly, I kick the first CC, I allow him to cast and modulate, I hodge the next CC, and since these guys are applying no pressure, I decide I can sit this next fear. I don't need a bubble, I don't need a trinket, my team is fine. As I come out of this fear, I'm on the DR, so I could rush in and do CC and damage as it's needed on the team. So that's just an example of what I was talking about previously. Let's say you're healing against a double melee team. On the first go, you may want to stay in the back and avoid confrontation because you are susceptible to swaps and you don't want to give up your trinket that early. So let's say they clash in the middle and they're doing their go. You could pop your wings. Let me give that play power. You could pop your wings and then you could judge from the back, hammer from the back, and then you just flash of light your team. And you're avoiding confrontation because you don't want to get hit. You get your second judgment in there, you get your second hammer wrath in there, you're healing your team from the back. And then let's say after the first go, your wings is off cooldown again. At this point, you could get into the mix. You could do Crusader Strike, you could start judging them, you could look for that sneaky cross CC on the healer. But yeah, that's a general rule of thumb I like to follow. During the first go, I'll try to avoid confrontation, and then after my wings comes off cooldown the second time, I just jump in the fray. So that's something to consider fighting melee. When I'm fighting melee in the first go, if I can peel for my team, I like to get a hodge. Usually they'll sit it for about 3 seconds. Sometimes I get the full value from hodge, which is always nice. But don't be afraid to send hodge on the melee DPS on the first go, just so you could peel back for your team just a little bit. When it comes down to healing against double caster, I will straight up switch to long wings depending on the map and the matchup. So if we're on a long map and we're fighting Destruction Lock and Shadow Priest, I will straight up switch and just ride the storm. I'm not going to put myself at jeopardy playing melee wings on a long map against casters when I could just stay at a 40-yard range, avoid CC on pillar, and heal my team that way. If it's a small map and maybe there's an LA Shaman, and even if there's a Shadow Priest, I'll play melee wings just because I could use the small range of the map to maybe stop this Shaman from doing stuff and then hide from him. But yeah, don't be afraid to switch to long range Holy Paladin build on long maps against double casters because it is overwhelming and you can't stop both of them at once, especially if they go into a triangle formation. You're just going to get caught. So take my advice. switch to the long range Holy Paladin build. I will have a link to the long range Holy Paladin build in the description of this video. To summarize, we need to create pressure with our CC and our damage in order to win games. So before you cross over to get that CC, make sure one of the DPS is CC'd before you cross over. Maybe you're on the DR so you can't get CC'd and you cross over. Maybe their healer's in a bad spot. He rushes at you through the middle. This is your team and the enemy team. He rushes at you, so you hodge him. You blind him out. You pop your wings with your team and you go. You are smart about how you got your CC every single time, and you covered your weaknesses, which was you are susceptible to getting CC'd and you are susceptible to swaps. So just be very mindful of how you go about creating pressure with this new playstyle as Holy Paladin. Like I said, I can't cover every single situation and every single comp you'll face in the arena, but I hope that these tips help you, and if you have specific questions, like I said, please feel free to ask me in the comments below and I will try my best to answer those questions. So this is the end of the guide. Thank you for getting this far. I just wanted to say thank you to all my new YouTube subscribers too, and to anyone who left positive comments on my last video and truly enjoyed it. I really do appreciate it more than you guys know. I saw all those comments and the positivity, and it was just crazy, man. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you so very much. This is me signing out. Take it easy.